Glad to hear. Just give it another minute or so until we get things rocking and rolling here.
Anyone got any plans for later today? Or
Just working for me, man. Nothing else.
Just working for me. Working all day and all evening.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm just trying to remember now. Anyone new here that recently just joined or wasn't on one of the last calls? Um,
That would be me. Us,
awesome.
yeah.
I'm here as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
And that's me as well.
Great. Glad to meet you guys. I don't know if each of you want to just maybe do a quick intro and introduce yourselves and what your goals are with real estate and why you wanted to join this group.
Okay, this is my name is Sunny, and I've been in Sub 2 since March, April, and got lost in the vault. And then tried to do this on my own. And wow, I just ran out of time every time I turned around trying to do everything. And so I kept asking people to help, and everyone seemed to be running out of time themselves. And so I wanted a group, started looking for a group, and you are the first group that I was really able to connect with and get through all that process to get started. So I'm excited to be part of this group and start eventually build my own business, but learn how to do that with you guys. I'm excited.
Awesome, Sonny. I'm glad to hear that. Well, we're happy to have you on board. I appreciate you for sharing that. And who else was it? I didn't see the names that popped up. I know Brendan.
Yeah. I'm here. So I'm located up in Portland, Oregon, based out of the Bay Area, but I've had a career in real estate since about 2019. I graduated school in 2019 and worked in mortgage. However, I've never dove into investing and I really wanted to do that. I've been wanting to do that since probably for a couple of years now. However, I've heard very, very similar to Sunny that it's it's a big bite. It's very common to bite off more than you can chew if you go into it solo. So I'm very, very glad to be able to connect with you and Alex and the rest of the team. You guys were kind of the first team that I've been able to connect with as well. So I'm excited.
Awesome, man. Glad to hear that. Appreciate you for sharing. And who was the other person that was new? I think a couple other people joined as well. But
That was us actually. Well, for me, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster, but I recently joined the Gator method. I think I reached out a little bit to Alex and to yourself of my situation, and I kind of thought I found this deal that literally landed on my lap, and I thought I was going to be able to save my mom from moving out from her renting property that she's doing. And actually, I lived in that property myself, me and my sister, for about 20 years. And then I moved out by my house, and then they stayed there. But recently, they the owner bought the property. The owner sold the property, and now they have to move out. So I extended out to the owner, the landlord, if he would be consider a seller finance. But it seems like he didn't really want to take the deal. He referred me to his real estate agent. I first contacted the real estate agent, but he kind of either didn't really want to. And so then I reached out, since my mom's been renting from the landlord. I got his number and I sent him a deal. Alex kind of helped me out a little bit with that, and that I sent it, but he just was like, "Oh, okay, I'll send it to my real estate agent," and that was it. But other than that, I mean, started the Gator method. we just got me and my girlfriend just got our LLC and our holding group yesterday, and we're waiting for it to, I guess they said 5 business days for the Wyoming one. And for the California, I guess it takes a little more, like 2 weeks. But
Gotcha.
between me and her, I mean, she just got her real estate license. So she's getting her MLS anytime soon. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Tabitha. I just got my real estate license, and I'm joining the journey with my boyfriend.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
we're trying to really get into the sub two family and get more information and be a good member, I guess.
Awesome. Great. Well, glad to have you guys on board and great meeting you guys.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure, Alex. I don't know for time's sake. I'm assuming there's a handful of other new people in there. Should we run through and have other people introduce themselves, or should we just kind of dive into it and then maybe join the Discord call once we're done and just speak with some people?
Yeah, let's start what we kind of have planned, and when we go into questions and answers, maybe have those newer
Yeah.
introduce themselves.
Gotcha. So today we were going to cover basically comping and seeing what the true ARV is of a property. And then we also wanted to touch on too, just briefly before that, kind of just mindset, consistency, accountability, things like that. I know we touched on that a little bit previously on the last meeting, and also as well in those pre-recorded videos with just expectations. But I can't stress it enough how important it is to be tracking your calls, taking notes on the conversations you're having, and setting like daily goals and KPIs for yourself and whatnot. Because I mean, those of you that I've spoken with too on the phone, if you're just saying, okay, cool, yeah, I'm going to make some calls, because I used to do this too. I know everyone is victim of this at some point with some sort of aspect of life. Yeah, cool, I'm going to do it this weekend. Yeah, I'll do it this weekend. I'm going to make some calls. And then we follow up a week later. Well, I called 3 people on Saturday, and then it's just this thing that you really wanted to do just got put on the back burner because you didn't like time block it out and hold yourself accountable. So time blocking and being active in the group, I think, are two very important things to hold yourself accountable and helping each of us hold each other accountable. That's a really important thing. And then also too, just to make it easier for you guys and also for us, keeping track of everything and making sure you're adding the appropriate notes of how these conversations went. One other thing too that could be great is recording your calls and listening to them again and seeing, hey, I could have done this better. This sounded a little off. What could I have said differently here? One other thing that Alex and I are going to start doing next week will be every single day, one of us will be active in the general voice channel for an hour. So if you guys are making calls and you want someone to just listen to it and kind of tone in and give some feedback and whatnot, or answer questions, we'll be there. Not 100% sure on times yet for that. Alex and I will discuss that. I'm not sure if it's going to be something we set or it's just like a, hey, message in the general, I'll be in the chat for an hour. Yeah. So anything you wanted to add on that, Alex? That was just kind of a brief thing that I had to share.
Yeah, and when it comes to times, ideally we'll probably want it to be around 11 to 2 Eastern time, just so we're calling it appropriate times and to give everyone a chance to really hop in those calls and really give it a try to kind of hear how we could give you guys some feedback live on a call.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds good as well too. And then me, I haven't connected with anyone yet because it's not a great time, but I'm usually like underwriting and doing stuff late at night. So I know there's not many people here on the West Coast. So I know most of you guys are 2 hours ahead. So I'm like sometimes active at like 10 or 11 my time until like 1. So I know that's like way too late for anyone. But if anyone has questions, then I'm also available in the chat at any time. And then I guess another thing to just touch on too, make sure you're being proactive with things, because occasionally, like, don't think, hey, I don't want to bug Jack or Alex, because of course that's what we're here for. We're trying to do deals together and grow with one another. So if you're asking us questions about a specific deal, that's not only going to help you, but it's also going to help us, because our goal is to be buying these deals. So that's one thing too. Like if you send a text and okay, there's a little bit of delay, don't feel afraid to send another text out or, message again or something like that. It's not annoying or bugging us at all. I think Alex is better than me about it. In terms of like responding, I usually respond quickly, but there are some times where I miss things, especially now with more deals going on and closing them and trying to find wrap buyers, messaging these agents back and forth. sometimes I'll just miss something and then I'm just like, oh shit. So it's definitely important to make sure you're not afraid to message a couple times if needed, but I'm trying my best and I'm usually pretty good about responding quickly. And then we'll have those designated times every single day as well, where we're available in the chat for everyone. And yeah, accountability is huge. And I'd say time blocking is huge as well, too, because if you're not time blocking, it's going to be very hard to hold yourself accountable, because then it's more of just a, hey, I do this when I feel like it. And when you do something when you feel like it, you're probably not going to get the results you want.
Yeah, and just another thing to add on to that, well said, Jack. I think it's very important to even set daily goals. I think if you're able to hold yourself accountable off measurements you're making for yourself, I think that's a great way to start. It could be very scary to try to make calls and have a couple bad ones happen and then just stop there. But I think if you set a goal, whether it's 20 conversations, 10 conversations, 30 conversations, if you're setting these benchmarks and trying to reach them, it will allow you to really stay focused on what the end goal is. And that's to just have as many conversations and to really generate as many leads as possible.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And was there anything you wanted to show, Alex, in terms of that? Like, I know you shared that thing with me for the notes. Was that just something for me to see, or?
Yeah, that was for you to see. I could
Okay,
also share it
gotcha,
here, just-
gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, now I guess we could open it up to some questions really quickly. Then I could jump into comping and whatnot as well too. Does that sound like a decent structure there, Alex? We can kind of open the floor if anyone has any specific questions or feedback with deals they've been working this week, and then we could dive into comping, because I think the comping thing will only take me like 20 minutes to cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and the comping thing really isn't a necessity. Like each week, we're probably going to pick different topics to go over, where it's just something, for you guys to learn and have in your tool belt to use for, your eventual future goals of doing this stuff as well. And also providing insight as well when analyzing and looking at deals. So the comping one is definitely a key fundamental to learn. Yeah, so does anyone have any questions right now or any comments since our last meeting on Tuesday in terms of calls, feedback, questions, suggestions, anything like that? We won't go like round robin like we did last time because that takes up a lot of time, but feel free to share though. I'm actually really curious in terms of how things have gone, or if you're just getting started and haven't started making calls yet. Any sort of questions or tips with where to start?
Yes, I'm new to this meeting. Can you go over like how do we start?
Yeah, like the whole process of.
Yes, I just joined in. So how do we start about calling, or how do we get the list? And can you go over the tools which we use?
Yeah, of course. Alex, would you mind screen sharing that? Actually, I can kind of run through it, but
Yeah, let me.
Because this might be helpful to everyone as well too, like other newer people who just want to see a quick rundown. I was actually thinking of recording like a Loom video for this as well too.
Yeah.
Just to save.
I think it's a good idea. So to start, first you're gonna want to join our Discord, skim through the rules, and then there's a support and then a conversations chat. So when you join, you're gonna want to request a list first. And so once you request that list, we'll get back to you within ideally that same hour to get you to start making some calls as soon as possible. And then underneath it is going to be where you'll find the helpful documents. And this will be where you find all of our pre-recorded Loom videos where we go over how to really talk to agents, why we're calling on this certain list, and a couple other topics that'll really help you when hopping on the phone. Then we have our buy box where we're looking to buy, which is pretty much nationwide as long as it's the landlord friendly state and the deal makes sense. Next is going to be the common objections, where this is where most agents will typically question you, and if you have a nice spot to kind of go to be able to answer them appropriately, this is really nice. There's also the creative finance framework email temp, which is basically the same document. There's just a couple paragraphs explaining a little more in depth what subject to and seller finance is. And then briefly, Jack had mentioned tracking your calls. I don't know if anyone has been able to check out the KPI sheet, but it's a great place to start. You have to make a copy and just input the number of calls you're making daily and to really hold yourself accountable and stay on top of it. Above it's a script, and the script is mainly going to be used as like a reference point. You're not supposed to really use a script to read word for word. If agents notice you're just reading off a script, they'll kind of call you out and not really take you seriously. So just be aware that you just want to use it as a reference point and really jump into different topics if it's needed. And so that's pretty much the main parts of Discord that really will help you better understand how to make calls and get started in this group.
Yeah, no, well said, Alex. Thanks for covering that. And then I think too, of course, the general, that's just going to be our main chat communication back and forth. And there's that questions tab there to ask specific questions. And then also a couple rows down from that, there's the voice channel, which you can join. And if other people in there, you can be talking and collaborating with them. And then also Alex and I will be in there from time to time, probably about an hour each day to answer questions and whatnot too. And yeah, definitely don't want to sound like you're reading off of a script. I would say listening to recorded calls and using that script more as just a framework kind of backbone to build upon and go off of. Because yeah, instantly going into, hey, are you open to creative, or sounding like you're a robot reading a script isn't going to be good. And those agents are going to kind of just shut it down instantly. Where I forgot who it was. What's his name, Alex? Kevin Cho, right? That's his last name.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty big in sub too, and I was listening to one of his recorded calls, I think yesterday, and he's pretty much doing it the exact framework we are, where I listened to like a 15-minute recorded call, where it's just literally building the rapport, like how we have it structured. We're building the rapport with the agent, asking about the property, asking about the area, kind of trying to get information on the situation with the seller, and then we're pivoting into, hey, what if I just came in and took over the existing mortgage payments, because it doesn't look like there's much equity in this deal. And I think that's huge and will separate you from instantly just jumping into, hey, are you doing creative? So that's one thing that's important. I mean, we have that laid out there in those documents, though, of like how we like it structured and scripted. And then also we have those call recordings as well. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, was that helpful? I'm sure maybe there might be some other questions there, but that was just a brief rundown.
Yes. And how about like support? Like we wanted to reach back to you about further conversation. If the lead is positive, what can we do about it?
Yeah. So if you have a specific question about that deal, you could always message us personally. But then also too, if you want to actually submit that lead, you're gonna go to, let me pull it up here. One of the tabs within Discord is called New Leads, and you're gonna click New Leads, and then there's a Google form right there that you would then click and fill out your name, the agent's name, their contact info, and then all the information about that lead with notes, the PITI, the remaining mortgage balance, and things like that. So we want to be submitting those leads through that Google form once we have a lot of information. Ideally, say if you just spoke with an agent who said, oh yeah, maybe they're open to terms, I wouldn't submit that quite just yet. That'd be more so of trying to get some more information out of them for exact numbers. But then if you did need help with that there, you could of course always reach out to me and Alex, and we could hop on a 3-way call if needed, or whatever it may be, to really try to get more information out of the agent and explain the process further.
Yeah, and just to kind of add on to that, I've seen some pretty good success when that lead isn't to the point where you need to submit it in that Google form, such as you don't have the mortgage statement or how much a monthly payment is. If you want to have Jack and I hop on the call and really build some more rapport with the agent, I've noticed it's been a pretty good way to extract that information from them.
Yeah. And do you have any frequently asked questions, kind of a form from the agents?
Yeah, so that will be in common objections in the helpful documents tab.
Real quick, do you guys have any specific software or any suggestions on, what phone line we should be calling from? Would it be our personal line? And then secondly, with documents as well. So say we're obtaining a mortgage statement, or bank statements, whatever we may need. Is there any specific mode of transfer that you found most successful, or is it just like over email or?
Yeah. So right now, pretty much you can totally use your cell phone, at least for, there's a couple people in this group that are out of country, so it's a little different for them. They can use like some sort of Google Voice service or something like that, but using your personal cell phone is totally fine. And then if anyone asks about a different zip code, hey, I'm an out-of-state investor looking to buy a property here. It's a little different with direct to seller, but direct to agent, it doesn't really matter. So you could totally use your personal cell phone. That's what we all do. And then in terms of getting documents like mortgage statements, or any sort of information sent to you, texting is totally fine, or email as well. Alex and I probably here in the near future, in the next couple of weeks, are going to build out a website, and we'll have our own @or .com for emails to be sent to. But now in the meantime, texting your personal email and then just forwarding it to us is totally fine.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yep. Any other questions?
I have a couple.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm brand new to this, right? So I have a lot of questions, but as an example, PITI you mentioned, right? I'm assuming I have no idea what that is. So I'm assuming that when I go into Discord, that like a lot of this terminology will be there for me to run through and get familiar with.
A lot of it, and that's actually one thing we should add. We have more so of like dealing with objections and stuff, but maybe if we create a basic terminology, definitions, that'd be great too. But PITI is just principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, which would equate to that monthly payment that one's making on the mortgage.
Okay.
And that's essentially what we're taking over. So we're looking at the PITI to see, hey, does this work as a long-term rental? What's our number spread if we're doing a midterm rental here, or rent by the room, or if we're wrapping it? And pretty much right now, everything we're trying to do is wraps. So yeah, we could go more in depth on that, but wraps are basically looking at PI, because there's no TI with wraps, the taxes and insurance, because we're then seller financing the house to an end buyer, so they cover the taxes and insurance. But yeah, PITI is definitely an important thing we need to know.
Okay. And then just so I'm familiar, because I started with wholesaling and getting down that road, but this isn't wholesaling. We're working on creative financing with it sounds like realtors or agents is what you're saying. So, and
I mean,
that's
yeah, essentially wholesaling is us getting a property under contract and then assigning it to someone else. That's
right.
Wholesaling. So any sort of, deal where you're creating an assignment fee and making money off that and not keeping the property yourself is wholesaling. So pretty much most of this stuff we're trying to keep ourselves. If something doesn't work for our buy box, then we'll assign it. So I'm assuming we'll still assign a decent amount of stuff. So technically it's wholesaling, and then you're essentially still doing the same components of wholesaling. It's just we're not doing cash deals. Like we're not calling direct to seller, pitching them a 50% of market value cash offer.
Okay.
Because that's all I used to do. I used to do a lot of the cash deals, and then now I've 100% pivoted out of cash deals and strictly only doing creative financing right now.
Okay.
So it's still technically wholesaling.
Okay. And then, so again, learning that. So this is, I'm excited to get into this because I want to learn the creative financing side. So that's good. Okay.
Awesome. Great.
Thanks.
Glad to hear that. Yeah. And Yosef, you have a question? I see you with your hand raised. You're muted if you're talking right now.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
I have a question about doing deals off of the list. Like
Okay.
you gave me a list of agents and stuff to start calling. However, I actually just connected with a local agent that's willing to start sending me some deals, that ones that are like pre-list. So I was wondering if I happen to find one of interest, can I send that to you guys for a possible deal to be done there?
Yeah, we'd still totally be open to something like that, and still pay you some sort of fee on that. It really just depends on where that agent is and where that market is.
New Jersey, where are you?
New Jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something I'd still be open to looking at for sure.
Only because like some of these deals, I'm able to. Some of them are really like very close, and even at 10, 15 minutes away from my house, I can actually go look at them.
Yeah, if they're like creative type scenarios, yes. If they're
Yeah.
cash deals, just gonna say no. Just for the fact of, I mean, I'd totally be willing to still give you an opinion on something.
Okay.
But multifamily and cash deals, I just really don't have time for right now, just because
No,
we're
no,
getting
no.
such an
These are like
influx.
straight single family houses.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if they're open to creative,
He's just sending me pre-listed deals that haven't reached the MLS yet.
gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally be happy to look at anything like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. And Jerry, do you have a question?
Yeah, actually, so around those hours, the peak hours, usually at work, but I've been approaching my coworkers. I know this might sound kind of old school, but would I be able to maybe do a business card, kind of put like my phone or something, and kind of have a title of what we kind of do? Would that be an idea I could do, or is that a horrible idea?
I wouldn't say that's a horrible idea. That's just something to think about, though. I don't know what the yield would be on that idea personally, where I'm like, huh, I don't know if that's maybe once we have a website, and this is because we just started this like a week and a half ago. Maybe once we have a website and this is really up and running, we could totally get cards for the website and then share them with people that want them to pass out. But I would hate for you to spend your own money on something right now. Um, and I don't know how, and I think that'd be very low yielding personally, unless it was, oh yeah, that's very true, Brendan. Digital business cards as well with the QR scanner. You could totally do that. Yeah. So actually, yeah, you could totally do that.
Yeah,
I
because
don't know. I don't know what the yield would be on that though, personally.
because right now what I've been doing is that first I hand out my girlfriend's business card as a realtor, and then I'm like, oh, and by the way, if you know anyone that's behind payments or in foreclosure or just wants to get rid of the house, I could also help you with that.
Yep.
And that's what I've been doing. But I was like, maybe it would be more legit if I had like a business card, because I work at a pretty big, I work for Costco, so I know a lot of people in it's like 4 campuses.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
there's like over in my building alone, there's over 500 people, and then and the other 3 campuses, I'm sure altogether it's like
They
quite
have
a
a
few.
lot,
Yeah,
like over 1,000.
yeah. So,
Gotcha.
um,
Yeah, that actually, could be a good idea then. What do you think about that, Alex? I mean, I see that as potentially building out a pipeline and just getting stuff sent to you, which could be good.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I just one thing I want to add on to that is lately I've kind of been stepping out of my comfort zone and really telling everyone about what my goals are and what I've kind of been doing this past couple months. So that's something I would recommend to everyone. Let everyone know what you're doing. I sent that link in the chat. It's basically a virtual business card. If you're interested, I would check out something like that to minimize the expenses, because I know business cards could be not super expensive, but it's just another expense you have to pay for.
Yeah. These right here. These business cards when I was with a different wholesaling operation, which I can't use anymore because I'm doing my own thing. So I wasted like $200 on those business cards. Plus the ones with the phone are actually super convenient with the QR code scanner. I really like those.
Yeah.
Because that's like another thing, just a quick, hey, pull on my phone, scan, boom, now you're in their contacts. Who's next on the list here? Griffin, you got a question? I see you with your hand up.
Yeah. I'm wondering how we're going to work out agent relationships. Because I mean, we're sourcing the agents, but then you're, talking to them and closing them.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, say, for example, I mean, obviously my goal is to, do this myself at some point. And agent relationships are obviously beneficial for any, real estate person to have. So I'm wondering, like who gets to, get the leads from the agents, or I guess we could both technically get them, and then our buy boxes might be different. So that might be how that happens. But
Yeah, that's a very good question. I've actually mentioned that to Alex a bit too, and I think it's more of like a mutual thing where, it's not like agents have one client that they only send deals to and work with. I'm sure there's an agent that has a lot of people that they're sending fix and flips to, potential sub twos to, things like that. Um, so I think right now that's how we're just running it, as where it's not like, super, hey, sign this NDA, you can't talk to this person, only we can, or vice versa. Um, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. What do you think, Alex? I don't think we really discussed that too much. It's kind of just,
I think you said it perfectly. I think
yeah.
we're not forcing the agent to just have a conversation with us. Most of the time, we're going to want to be hopping on a three-way call to really keep the connection starting with whoever brought us the lead. And we're not really looking to cut anyone out of any deals or any business. It just, we really want to practice good business practices. So,
Yeah.
Cool. Follow-up question. Well, I guess it's not really a follow-up question, but the second question. Are you guys doing any underwriting or closing calls coming up here that I or any of us could hop in on and just observe?
We could totally do that. I mean, we have like 3 that we sent out contracts on within the last 24 hours or so, right? Where I'm thinking we're probably gonna hopefully get 2 of those 3 locked up this weekend here. But with the lead flow we're getting, I think we're gonna be having a decent amount of I guess you could call them closing calls. It's more so just, hey, we sent over this to the agent. Is the seller on board? Yes. Okay, perfect. Like with the direct to seller stuff I was doing previously, that was a lot of closing calls. Like, okay, we're here. My team, my construction team that walked the property, they're here. We need to do a retrade. I can come down to here. We're here. Like those are like higher intensity closing calls. But from my experience with the direct to agent stuff, um, it's not really like that, because the agent's the intermediary of like, okay, I presented this to the seller, they said this, we're here, and it's not as intense. I guess it's still the same terminology of a closing call, but yeah, we could totally either have people hop in on those, which I think would be tricky, but Alex and I are starting to record pretty much all of our calls, so we can definitely start adding to that recorded call list and posting those.
yeah, I have a couple recorded calls myself that I could definitely upload, and I'll get on it within the next, ideally by today, I'll have them uploaded.
Cool. Where would I find those? In the Discord somewhere, like in the recorded section?
Yeah, recorded calls in the support tab.
Okay, cool. Last thing, I just wanted to learn more about wraps in general. I'm not sure if this is the best time to do it for the sake of other people's time, or if I could have 5 minutes of your time sometime later.
Totally. We could talk after this Zoom maybe, and if anyone wants to hop in there, we can. I was talking to Alex about that too. There's a lot of things that are more in depth that we can go into, and like wraps, I would say, are one of the most intricate strategies to do. Like, I mean, a decent amount of people are doing them, but most people are just wholesaling cash deals, or they're not really doing wraps because there's a lot of components to it. But in my eyes, it's a super high yielding strategy. And yeah, we could totally maybe have a whole Zoom on those next week or something as well.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, if you guys decide to do something.
Sounds good. And Noah, see you with your hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So I don't know how long this might take to explain. Just seeing if we can go through it real quick. But the only objection I've really had so far, not really objection, but one thing I've noticed it's kind of been touchy subject, is obviously finding the seller's motivation when talking to that agent, being an agent myself.
Yeah.
What are some helpful tips you think, as far as, touching into the subject, but not directly going into it? I guess you can say kind of being subtle about it, but getting what you need out of it, so hey, is this, a deal I can work out?
Yeah. So a lot of people, like one of my mentors who does a ton of wraps, ton of direct to agent stuff, that's his whole marketing model. He's doing like 10 to 20 deals a month. He's always told me, like, he's essentially planting the seed in that agent's brain. So even if the deal's only been on market for 5 days and it's a low equity, he'll just plant the seed in the agent's brain. It's not just, hey, here's my sub 2 offer, let's do this, I think this is the only thing that'll work for the seller. It's more so of, hey, I see there's not much equity here, I'm assuming the seller is pretty much breaking even or writing a check. What I can do, I pretty much do this all the time. This is our main source of acquisitions, our main business model here. I closed one last week where we came in, we took over the existing payments. I'd still pay out your commission. I'd be happy to answer any sort of questions the seller may have. This is just another, it's something like that where you're presenting it in an open sort of environment, not saying, hey, this is our offer, you have to do this. It's more of just like another tool they can have in their tool belt. And it's important to build, the rapport first with that agent and not just directly dive into the pitching of, hey, are you open to sub 2? I see this has 0 equity. Yeah, no, Pierce. I mentioned that too at the start. I think I might actually post the link in the Discord with some of Kevin's calls, because I was watching one of those yesterday, and he's kind of doing it exactly that manner. It's not the most, I think that's the best way to do it, but just having a 15-minute conversation with an agent just to build that rapport to then try to pivot into the creative is the best way to do it. But probably a lot of the times you're going to be wasting 10 to 15 minutes if the agent shoots it down, but that's the best way to do it rather than instantly just diving right into it.
Yeah.
Right.
And 2 things I want to add onto that is I really like talking about the home and then explaining why and how I really like the home and asking why they're selling the home, just because it's a really nice property to me. And I've noticed with that, I get not as much pushback when asking other ways. And then the second thing I wanted to add on to that is, if you are having 10 to 15-minute conversation with agents, I would never really consider it a waste of time. I would really just emphasize focusing on relationship building if they aren't really interested in that deal. Because like Jack said, there's agents at this point where they're sending us deals on a regular basis now. And that is because we had that 10 to 15-minute conversation up front, really getting to know them and kind of telling them more about what we do and how it could really be a resource to them.
Yeah, that's very, very, very true. Well said there. And I think was it you, Noah, who sent us that deal in OKC? I think it was Edmond, that higher end property. Yeah. Yeah. So that was a scenario there where it was like, and it's going to really vary by deal. Like that was a scenario there, like low entry fee in terms of percentage, but higher end house, not a very good interest rate, and like pretty much no exit strategy. And then I was just very open with that agent, like, hey, you have another offer with someone offering 10K. Even if I was in it almost nothing here, I don't think this is the best fit for me. I don't really see an exit here in terms of a cash on cash return perspective. I don't really want to waste your time. And then the agent was like, thank you so much for the integrity or whatever, and then I'm sure you had a great conversation with her, and I had a decent conversation with her too. So something like that, an agent will potentially say, oh, I spoke with these people previously, then in the future, hey, they sounded like they had some integrity and were honest, good people, and you built rapport with them on the phone, and then they sent future deals. And I've noticed that a lot, kind of just in the past already. Like a couple deals I recently closed on were from an agent I spoke with previously that told me a no on one deal, and then he just starts working with me now, and then I pay him on the back end too, because he finds the wrap buyer for me. So pretty much he's now incentivized to only do deals with me. So it's really good to create like win-wins with agents and try to keep people in your network at all times.
Yeah, just one more thing to add on to that. I have a deal that I believe it's going to get locked up in the next week or so. We're just trying to help the seller find another home. And so with that one, the agent told me that they had 35 other people call about subject to. And out of those 35, I was the person she wanted to go with, simply for the fact that when I spoke to her, I came across very nice and with the idea that I wanted to help her sell her home. And she appreciated that. And so, like I said, she picked me over 35 other offers. So it just another reason why you really want to remember to build rapport, connect on a personal level, and try to create relationships if that listing doesn't work.
Yeah, very true.
100%. Yeah, something I want to add. I had one other small question, but onto that buyer you're talking about. Just quickly. When I first called her, she was very straight off the rip, like, hey, if you're calling about sub 2, don't call me. And I went around that, got across a huge objection. She was very straightforward. She even said, hey, I'm going to get my husband on the phone because I'm assuming he's an agent as well. Wanted to hear me out. And then obviously I played the script roll for roll, got it all the way down to the point where after that conversation, where their second call that I talked to her and she's eating McDonald's French fries, she's open to me, she starts talking, and it's like I'm her best friend now. So I'm not surprised that rapport is a great build now. So I agree with you 100%. And then the small question was, I've been just tracking on the Google sheet that Alex sent me as far as calls go. Is that like good enough, do you think? Or is there a source you prefer over that? You prefer what you were going over earlier?
In terms of note taking?
Yeah, just as far as like, hey, call, contact made, motivation, like additional notes, all that crap, as far as how the conversation went, where should we be tracking them?
Yeah.
I know you said KPI sheet in the Discord, but I was doing it on there because it seems pretty organized on the Google sheet too, where every time I log into there, it's right there for me.
Yeah, and I think I might figure out a way to incorporate both that KPI sheet into that list that you're calling on. Or just make it to where you're able to track how many calls you're making off the property listing sheet and really combine the two and make it easier for everyone to navigate around.
Awesome. And then Maria, did you have another question? I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
No,
probably
no
gonna-
worries at all.
And this is probably a newbie question, so I apologize in advance. But so I guess as far as you mentioned business cards earlier, and you're like, that's one less expense. Is there other expenses, or is there any expenses involved in these deals, or is it just pretty much sounds like you know, cold calling the agents, right?
Yeah, I would say no expenses at all.
Okay.
Yeah, that's yeah, there's only one thing I can think of an expense, but that was someone who's out of country and he has to pay like $10 a month for some sort of Google Voice alternative, essentially, so we can make calls in the US. That's the only thing I can think of.
Okay.
But yeah, no expenses. We're pretty much taking care of everything in terms of pulling the lists and structuring everything.
Awesome. Okay. And one more question. How much is an average deal that is made?
Are you talking about if it were assigned, like an average assignment? An average assignment fee is usually 10K, 10 to 15K is industry average. It really just depends though. Especially with the creative deals, people analyze them. Usually someone, what is it, Alex? I think it's every 200. Well, everyone's different of how they analyze them. Like I've heard every $200 of cash flow is 2K you can add to your assignment fee as a long-term rental. Some people analyze it like that. But usually I don't see any assignment fees less than 8K on a creative deal. And I usually don't see any higher than 15. I usually see a lot of 10K assignment fees for the typical creative finance deals that are being wholesaled or assigned, I should say. But then for us, we're not really making anything because ideally we're using our own capital or bringing in private money partners to then fund the money to seller, to pay you guys your fee, to pay closing costs, things like that. And then we're keeping that property for our own portfolio, whether it's a wrap and we're holding the note, whether it's a midterm or long-term rental, something like that. So we're not really assigning them to another party for an assignment fee. We might do that. I think maybe 25% of the time we will, but ideally we're really trying to scale out a portfolio.
Okay. And I'm getting involved in this, and I really want to be successful at this, but just so you know too, I am part of the Gator tribe. I am in the learning stage of that too. So I'm assuming that can tie in down the road.
Totally.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. And I am interested in understanding wrap. So if you can include me when you have that Zoom or whatever.
Of course.
That would be great. Okay.
Sounds great. Yeah. And Sunny, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, I have a couple questions too. The first one is, you sent a list, and with the spreadsheet, I was downloading it and putting it into my own folder. But do you want me to document on the link that you gave me on that spreadsheet, or do you want me to download it and write my own stuff on it on my own folder?
You want to answer that, Alex?
Yeah, to answer your question, you could just write and take notes off the list that we sent you. It's only shared with you, so there's no one else that could really go on it and write up notes as well.
Okay, because I just didn't know if you wanted to see what I was writing or if it was just something for my own tool to use. So the next thing is I too am interested in watching some creative finance deals or some wraps. I'd like to learn more about that. So I'd like to be included in that if at all possible.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Everyone will be included because it'll just be like the topic of one of the next Zooms we do, where we really dive deep into what that is and how it works. And we could do like a whole breakdown of one of the deals I've recently closed on, what we got it for, the acquisition strategy, the disposition strategy, what the monthly spread is there on the wrap, pretty
Okay.
much all that stuff.
Okay, and just to make sure, when I go on Discord, when I find a motivated opportunity, you're going to see it on my spreadsheet. I still fill out one of those little ticket things then.
Yeah, still go onto that new lead tab and fill out that Google form with that information.
Yeah, or
And it's,
go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, and the information that I have is all written on the spreadsheet is enough. And because I haven't gotten anything under contract, you guys are going to do the contract part
Correct,
of it.
correct. All you're doing is finding that quote unquote potentially motivated lead, getting the information for the mortgage statement, the PITI, the remaining balance, interest rate, and then we're pretty much coming in from there and underwriting it, sending out an offer, closing it, getting it under contract, doing all that stuff.
Okay, but I could watch some of those that you do.
Yeah,
because you're going to have it on a call.
of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay, super. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm wondering now, maybe I'll just kind of go over the comping right now. I see a couple other people have their hand up. I'll go over the comping now for like 10 or 15 minutes, just quick little touch on that. And then if there's questions after I do that, then we could just have some time for that. I just don't want to keep people waiting if they want to see something like that. Can you give me permission to share screen, Alex? You might just have to make me co-host.
Yeah, I switched it.
Okay, cool. So I'll just do, and this is just some super basic, just some super basic stuff here. Let me see. Yeah, so with comping here, oh, there we go. Trying to move this bar onto my other screen. Okay, so this was just a deal we sent an offer out on like last week or something. So I'll just conveniently pull this one up. I don't know how many of you use PropStream, but I prefer to comp on PropStream. You can also do it on Zillow. You can still do the same thing here. PropStream is just much easier to do this on. So we'll look at our subject property we're looking at, and Zillow or other free services, Realtor, you could go to sold and look at recently sold listings within the last, I try to stay at the last 3 to 4 months or so. But PropStream just much easier interface. So I'd go into comparables, and I always want to be looking at properties that are very similar to the one listed. So I don't know if there's active pictures for this one of the interior. Okay, there is. Perfect. So this one's a 5-bed, 3-bath. So I want to try to find identical comps, at least in terms of the bedroom. So for bathrooms, I'll do like a 2-4. And if there's, and someone interrupt me if this isn't making sense, feel free to. Usually with bedrooms and bathrooms, we'll add an extra $20,000 for a bedroom, or, vice versa, add or subtract $20,000 from the comparables ARV to make it fit the subject property. So say if I was looking at a comp, if there was a lack of comps and I was looking at a comp that had a 4-bed and the property I'm looking at is a 5-bed, then I would make that according adjustment and subtract $20K, or actually add $20K to that 4 beds ARV to make it comparable to the property I'm looking at. So let me see here. Now I'm going to go look at the last few months here. Okay, perfect. So I'm looking right now from June until now, which is about 3 months. So there's 3 comparables here. And of course, too, like I said, you can do this on Zillow. It's just not a good interface at all. I really like PropStream because it's a good interface and it has all the data I need here. Whereas Zillow, it would just be me looking at sold properties, clicking on them, and then I guess manually adding them to a spreadsheet. I also have a spreadsheet that I'll add this stuff on, or I used to. Now I pretty much just do it off the top of my head or just jot down the price per square foot and subtract accordingly. But I do have a spreadsheet that I guess I could share as well too, which shows it has a calculator to actually kind of formulate a rough ARV. But so these ones here are comparables. This one sold in July for $464,000. It's a 5.3. 2,654 square feet. So it's slightly larger than my comparable here. And then the spread I have in terms of square footage is about a 300 square foot, 400 square foot difference. You want it in a similar range. I would say no more than 500 above square foot or no more than 500 below. And then I kept the bedroom at the same 5.5s, and then I just added a slight spread on the bathrooms, 2 or 4. So if one had an extra bathroom, one had one less bathroom, then I would make a $10,000 adjustment in the price. Also as well too, these are all new builds. This is a 2021 build. All these comps are 2022 builds. If there's any 20-year or so differentiation with the year built, then we would make an according adjustment. And this is probably this isn't really like a surface level. I'm just so used to doing this. So like I said, let me know if there's questions, but like a more surface level thing would be not touching on things like that. But I just want to, you know, be transparent in terms of, hey, if this property is 20 years older than this other one, there's going to be an according adjustment. If this property I'm looking at is all brick and then the comparable is like wood or stucco, there's going to be an adjustment made. As long as you're in a pretty close ballpark range, it's totally fine.
So sorry,
go ahead.
Ask questions if we have it, right? So
yeah, no worries.
Okay. So you gave us 10K for a bathroom, 20K for a bedroom, which I noted. What's the difference, or for the 20-year? Is there also set values?
It's not really set, honestly. It's that's another thing with the bedrooms and bathrooms too. If I'm working like a really small, crappy like C market, so Killeen, for this example, that's a decent sized city. It's right outside of Waco, Texas. This is like a nicer like brick, more modern, newer build. So I would say a 10K for bathroom, 20K for bedroom is plausible and makes sense. Mm-hmm. But in some other markets, sometimes we do a 5K for a bathroom and 10K for a bedroom. And then if I was looking at Hollywood Hills, it would probably be, I don't do deals on super high-end houses like that, but you know, you can imagine the adjustment for a bedroom would probably be insane. Yeah. So it's really just going to vary per area. And then that's the same for year built as well too. Sometimes we've made $20,000 adjustments for year built, sometimes more. A lot of it's just eyeballing it too. Like if a house, because I've seen some really good brick builds built in the 1980s, and then I compare it to something built in 2022 or 2020, and they look pretty similar, then that probably wouldn't be too much of adjustment. But ideally you want comps. Usually I'll put like a 20-year range for year built. I would do like minimum 2,000. So I'm getting stuff that's been built within the last 20 years, and I wouldn't make much of an adjustment.
Got it. Okay.
Then what I do as well too is I will pull up pictures of these comps. So just to give me a ballpark idea, and then make according adjustments. So this one looks a heck of a lot nicer than our subject property. I'm not saying our subject property looks bad, but in my opinion, this one looks maybe not a heck of a lot nicer, but a bit nicer. Definitely more renovated and remodeled than this one. Or actually, I don't know. Actually, doesn't look too much different. I think the solar panels kind of throw it off to make it look weird. So that one I really wouldn't make too much of an adjustment on. And I'm assuming all these other comps, just for time's sake, I'm not going to look at them, are going to be similar. So, but say for example, if the subject property we were looking at was a fixer and it needed work, then I would have to make like a guesstimate judgment of, okay, how much money would I need to put into this property to make it look like this one? So if it was like 50K a rehab, then I'd have to adjust that accordingly into my numbers as well too. And this kind of comping overview here can go, you have to be a lot more precise with cash deals, but for the creative deals, like me and Alex, literally yesterday, I was sending out a contract without even looking at the frickin' house. Like, well, of course I knew it was like a newer build and ARV seemed to be pretty accurate, but I didn't underwrite it. I'm just looking at the monthly spread and what I think we can make on a wrap. If you're doing like a fix and flip and traditionally wholesaling a cash deal, you want to make sure your numbers are super, super good and spot on in terms of ARV and potential repairs and things like that. So what I would do then now is I'm just going to do this on paper. I would get the average square footage per house. I'm not going to make any adjustments because all these are 5.3s, just like our property. One of them is a 3.5 though. Still not going to make an adjustment just because that's so minor. And then I'm going to write the square footage down. So 2,654, 2,383, 2,496. PropStream, I technically don't have to do this though, but just because it automatically gives me the average price per square foot. I think Zillow actually does as well. Maybe Zillow does, not too sure. I know Zillow's free and anyone can use it. PropStream, you have to pay like $100 a month for. So what you would do is to get the average price per square foot, you would divide the purchase price, which would be this area here, 264K, 460, or not 200, 464K, 469K, and you would divide them by the square footage, and then that would give you the purchase price. So the average price per square foot for that first property is 175. The next one's 195. The next one's 188. So that's actually like a very good range. Like those are really solid comps. Sometimes you'll get an outlier, like if one's a fixer, or if it was just a fluke deal where it sold really quickly because it was priced super cheap. Usually I'll exclude outliers if they're like 15, 20% away from the batch of other comps. So then what I would do now to get like the exact ARV, what I would do, or not ARV, as is value, I would say, because our property's turnkey and it doesn't need any work. ARV would be more so of if you're looking like a fixer for a cash deal. So I do 175, which is the average price per square foot for the first one, plus 195 plus 188, and then divide that by 3 to get the average. So that would bring like the price per square foot, the average of those 3 comps would be 186. 186 per square foot. And then I'd go up to my subject property. And then I would do, since it's 2,234 square feet, I would do 2,234 times 186. And then that would justify an as is value / ARV of 415,524K. So that's how you would just quickly find the as is value or ARV. This would be as is value because, like I said, it's turnkey and doesn't need repairs of that property just based on the comps. And this one worked out well because all these comps are recent. All the oldest one was June, so all within the last couple months, all within a half-mile radius. Like these are literally in the same neighborhood. One of these is literally like 3 houses away. So these are all really good comps. So I would totally say that the 415 is a very justifiable ARV. And apparently this one's off market now. I'm trying to remember the story on this one. I know I sent in an offer on this one a couple days ago, but an agent that I built a relationship with sent it to me and I sent in an offer, a subject to offer. But that was just a very quick, slight surface level kind of skim on that. Does anyone have questions on that? I'm sure there probably are a lot, but that's just a brief kind of overview with that. Or if Alex, you had anything to chime in on.
I think that was great, Jack. I don't know if you want to touch on the filters in Zillow.
Gotcha. I was thinking that. I'm like, shit, I haven't used Zillow in like a year. So let me see though.
Click on more.
Yeah.
And scroll to the bottom. Like all the way to the bottom. Days on Zillow. So when you guys are looking for comps, you're going to want to make it to 90 days. And if you're not finding anything at 90 days, you're going to want to go to 6 months. It just with how the interest rates have been jumping up, it really has messed with what ARV is when you're trying to find comps. And then you're just going to want to switch from where it says for sale to recently sold. And that will give you or sold. Perfect.
Yep. And then square footage, kind of keep that same range, like I said. Lot size doesn't really matter. I would just say it's different if the subject property is on 10 acres and then the other property that's a comp is on just a typical plot of land that's like 10,000 square feet, then there's going to be a big differentiation there, but that's not super common. So just make sure the lot size is somewhat similar. Year built, try to aim within 20 years of subject property. Pools are another story. Usually that's like a 20K adjustment within price. Yeah, so just for example here, let's do this. Like I said, I don't use this myself personally, so we'll see what happens. So max, I'd say 1 acre. Doesn't really matter for a minimum. Year built, let's say 2000. Apply. Okay, so I get 101 results in this. Well, I kind of moved it. I guess in this general vicinity, I got 101 results. And I don't know, Alex, with Zillow though, can you really keen in on a specific area? I don't think you have that filter. I think it's only where you like zoom in and scroll around. I don't think you can say within a half-mile or quarter-mile radius from the subject property.
Yeah, you're spot
Correct.
on. You only
Gotcha.
see what's on your screen.
And then Texas is a non-disclosure state. So that's the crappy thing with Zillow is not all the time you'll be able to see what they sold for. So it says pending sale at like 209, but then it doesn't actually disclose the actual sales price. So likely it was 209, but there could have been a retrade that isn't shown within this, but that's only for Texas. And I'm trying to think what other states are non-disclosure as well. I know Texas is one of them. But this doesn't look like a good comp. So say if I was looking at this one for that property we were just looking at, it's shoot, hold on actually. Okay, I guess I can make the bed and bath count. So they actually don't let me do 5 exact bedrooms. So I guess this would still pop up anyway, but I'd have to make like a $20,000 adjustment for the bedroom. And then this house looks very outdated and older compared to the one we looked at. So I wouldn't even look at this as a comp. I would look for those higher end, more modern builds that are fully renovated on the interior. Because that was probably one that was like built in 2000 and had like nothing done to it since then. But that's just a quick rundown on Zillow. Was there anything else, Alex, in terms of that to touch on?
Oh man, I think you did a great job of kind of explaining how to comp.
And that was in like just 15 minutes or so. So hopefully that was definitely rushed, but at least kind of a brief idea of it. I can't see my screen. Let me see. 1 sec here. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that was just a quick rundown with that. I just wanted to at least touch on one topic before we kind of wrapped up because we have these scheduled for like an hour, but of course I'm fine with going over and answering questions. So if anyone had questions, now's the time. Just because I didn't want to do a bunch of questions, then push this off and it's like people have to go and whatnot. Yeah, Heather, go ahead.
Hi, my question was more in regards to what you guys were talking about earlier
Okay.
with the agents and building rapport. I have an agent that I spoke with who really wants to send me some deals, but I think he's kind of lost in what types of deals he should be sending me. And I'm also kind of new to this, so I'm not sure on how to phrase it for him. So I was just
Okay.
wondering, are there documents and the helpful documents that would give me that information on how to give him a better explanation on how to narrow down what type of deals?
I'm seeing here, the only thing I can think of off the top of my head would be that email template that's describing what sub 2 is. What do you think, Alex? Do you think that would be something, or do you think we should maybe add another document there to give a better? I did have that actually recording. You remember? We need to update that. I forgot about that yesterday when I was sending out that initial Loom video. I did record a video a couple days ago, me describing to agents how we can work together, how sub 2 works, how creative finance works. So that could be something perfect that we could send to them, right?
Yeah, so 2 things. Ronald said I would tell him send all. I mean, it's never bad to take a look at a deal. And then, yeah, kind of what Jack said. Jack recorded a video, short 2-3 minute video, kind of explaining what scenarios fit creative finance the best. So we'll definitely make sure we are sending that out to everyone to kind of relay the message and express what a good creative finance deal would look like for us.
Awesome.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. And sorry, I just read a text and then my mind went absolutely blank. But
I had a question.
yeah. And who's speaking? I see iPhone 2.
I know. I don't know why it's not popping up.
No
My
worries.
name's Nancy.
Awesome.
I don't know if the background is like too loud because they're like cutting the grass, but
No
anyway.
worries.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, so I just kind of wanted to know, just to get some more understanding, like what is the true benefit of sub two to the seller and the realtor?
Yeah,
Because
totally.
well, and let me tell you where this question is coming from, because I was watching YouTube videos to get like kind of a little better understanding, and it seems like the realtor would not want to go through with something like this for their client
Yeah.
because they would get like cut out almost. I mean,
They,
or am I wrong?
they wouldn't get cut out. No, they'd still get paid their commission. We have that in the contract. I could see someone not wanting to do this though, because a traditional sale would be much more ideal and is usually what makes sense. But that's why we're pulling lists with less than 10% equity, because those, when you're selling a house, you're usually paying about 10% with agent commissions, closing costs, all sorts of fees and stuff like that. Where if you have less than 10% equity, that seller is likely breaking even or writing a check or not making much money at all in that sale. So we offer sub two as a different solution or alternative. Like, for example, Alex, what I looked on my phone was that deal in Oklahoma just got signed. So that's good. But that's one where the seller just lost her job and she's disabled and she's probably going to go into pre-foreclosure. And it's been on market for
Gotcha.
2.5 months and it's not moving. So we're coming in, we're taking over the payments, paying her $3,000 to walk away. She's very happy. They're open to it. Then another deal I closed on last week that I'm wrapping. The seller had 2 special needs children and 10 dogs, and they didn't want to deal with showings or anything like that. So the agent that I have a relationship with told them about what I would do as an investor, how it would work. They were totally on board. And then, just scenarios like that. And there's been other ones I've done in
Okay.
the past where someone's in a divorce, they have to sell all of a sudden, there's no equity in the house. They're going to be writing a $40,000 check. And then we come in, we make the agent happy by still paying their commission and then taking over the seller's payments rather than them having to write a check at closing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just one more question, because I've heard this from realtors as well. A lot of them tell me that the loan isn't assumable. Now
Yep.
I've looked it up online, and it says that some like VA, FHA, and conventional loans are assumable. So I guess
Yeah.
it's all different.
So that is correct. It is different with what loans are assumable and what are not assumable, but we're not assuming the loans at all. And that's what a lot of realtors, they make the mistake thinking us taking over the existing payments is us assuming the loan. And then
Right.
it's not. Subject to is the loan staying under the seller's name. We make the payments on their existing loan. The property gets deeded to us and we own the property, but the debt stays in their name. So we're not taking that debt over within our credit. We're not assuming the loan. We're doing a subject to transaction, which is where that loan stays in the seller's name and we're making the payments on their behalf.
Okay.
And a lot of realtors aren't super familiar with that. And sometimes I had one recently where I had to explain that an assumption is different than subject to.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you so much for explaining that.
Of course.
Hi, Jack. This question is regarding Heather, what she said. I do have a realtor connection, and
Okay.
if he's sending me some leads, and do you anticipate to get that realtor paid anyway if those are off-market deals in
Yeah.
any way?
Yep. Like, so one I just closed on last week too, that one I was just talking about where the seller had 2 special needs children and a bunch of dogs where she didn't want showings and things like that to disturb the household. That was off market, brought to me by a realtor. We did what was it? I think a $1,500 management fee just to pay him. So of course that would be done. And of course you wouldn't want to burn someone too and say, oh yeah, I'll pay you. And then you don't pay him, because then it just kills that relationship and ruins your image. So like what I had that agreement with the guy, we were under contract and whatnot, and it was a verbal agreement and I just included it on the HUD. But you could sign a JV agreement with a realtor if they're bringing you off market properties before they're
And
listed.
how do you think they get paid? Is it like you wire them or you pay them a check?
It's paid through escrow. So that's what I did. That's what I do. I just pay through escrow. So they'd be included within the HUD for whatever service they did. Please mail so and so X amount of fee.
And how much time generally is the timeline if a deal gets accepted and till it gets closed? How many months or how many days it takes?
Usually about 30 days is what we typically aim for.
Okay, that's the minimum.
I wouldn't say minimum. We've closed some much quicker than that before. It's going to depend if title can get cleared quickly, if the seller's on board, if our buyers are on board, if we're wholesaling it. There's a lot of different factors, but if it's something I want to buy myself, like this deal we just locked up in Oklahoma, it's a low entry fee. I can close on it instantly right now, but we have to wait for title, give time for the seller to move out, have our attorney create our trusts and other things like that, where it might be like a 2 to 3 week close, but we just say a month to be safe. Really just depends on timeline and all the other moving components, but average is usually about a 30-day close.
And how about like our payment as a caller and getting that lead? Do we get paid in check, or else like do we need to get it on our LLC?
You're going to get paid at closing through escrow. So just like how I said, we do a management fee for like the realtors. If they bring us an off-market deal, you'd be mailed a check through escrow as long as you're in the States. There's a couple people in here that are in Australia, and I think one in New Zealand, where I'm like, we'll deal with that when that happens. I think it can be mailed to them. If not, we'll do PayPal or something. But everyone in the States, it'll just be done through escrow, and that check will be mailed to your address from the title company.
Is it going to be on the individual name, or else is it going to be on the
whatever you want, whatever you want.
Okay.
Because it would just be put, it would be put on the HUD. So if you wanted it on your individual name, we could do that. Or if you had an LLC, as long as you showed proof that you were the owner of that LLC, then we could, send it to your LLC.
Okay. Sure. Thanks. That answers the question.
Great. And then Maria, do you have another question?
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
No. Don't worry about it.
So one thing that I was kind of playing with was prop wire. Is that like something that is a prop stream that you can use, or is it better to just use Zillow?
So I've heard of prop wire. I know people that use prop wire. I've never messed with prop wire myself just because I like prop stream. Alex, have you tried prop wire? I know prop wire is free and I've heard decent things about it, but I've never personally used it.
Yeah, so I haven't used it personally. I use PropStream, but if it's a free resource, I mean, we're pulling these lists for you, but if you want to try calling on different lists, I would recommend it. I mean, it's free. If you don't feel like the data is that good, I would maybe switch things up, but yeah, I would definitely.
Oh no, I'm talking specifically for the comping that we went through. I'm assuming that's part of the steps that we need to take. So I'll play with it and see, because it is a free resource, so I can try that one and see.
And that's something I could do as well. Like I could go through PropWire just because I know it's a free resource, and then I could record a screen recorded video of how to comp on it once I figure out how to use it, because I feel like that'd be helpful to a lot of people if it's a free resource they can use.
That would be amazing. Okay, great. And then and then how to calculate an ARV, maybe we do that on another Zoom, but I'd be because I know the one we just looked at was it was pretty much set. So I'd love to understand that at some point.
Yeah, kind of similar. Like that was calculating ARV or as is value. The reason I was saying as is value instead of ARV is because ARV is after repair value. Those were turnkey homes that didn't need repairs.
Right.
So yeah,
like looking at homes together maybe that need repairs, and understanding how you think about that would be great.
Gotcha. Yeah, we could definitely touch on that another time briefly as well, for sure.
Okay, and then I just have one more thing is when I'm calling, I do have an LLC that I just purchased. So
Nice.
when I'm calling, I'm excited about it. When I'm calling, am I introducing myself as Maria from like Faith Driven Homes, or what, or is that okay? Does the realtor want to speak with an LLC, or is it more that you're an individual?
Individual is fine. You could just refer to us as your partners. Eventually, like I said, here in the near future, because Alex and I just started this specific group like less than 2 weeks ago. So we're going to get a website built out and probably a decent amount of things here in the near future as this grows. And then you can, mention an entity, which would be our entity. But as of now, my partners, or I mean, honestly, even in the future, when we have that entity, I would just say, oh, my partners I work with. And then if they ask, well, what's your company name? Then you could reference it. But yeah.
Okay. All right. That's fine. And then I have a few, I have a few realtors that like are friends that I can connect with on this too. I just need to understand like what I don't remember her name, but like, what is, so I would like to work together on that too, because obviously I'm
Totally.
brand new, so need that, but I might be able to bring some of those deals and like to understand how we, like I have one right now and I don't know what to do with it, so maybe
Gotcha.
we work through that together.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And is that deal right now that was brought to you, is that like a cash deal? Do they say maybe they're open to
No, they
terms?
were just like, I'm in this like Facebook chat with a bunch of realtors, hundreds of them. And so I just put out there, if anybody has, you know, properties that have been on the market for a while, if you want to try to pass them through me, let's see if we can make a deal. So somebody did reach out. Oh, sorry, take my phone. Somebody did reach out to me with a property. So again, this was before this, so maybe I can use different verbiage to get more deals sent my way, but
Yeah,
but I'd like to see if this is something that is an opportunity or not, so.
totally. Yeah. Be happy to take a look and help out with that for sure.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any questions or anything from anyone else? I know we went a little bit over time here, but happy to answer anything, or if anyone wants to learn more about anything. I'm not I don't have any calls scheduled or anything for the next little while, so I got some time. So I'm down to just chill out in a call if we wanted to end the Zoom or answer questions in the Zoom, whatever it may be. I got some time. I don't know about you, Alex, but
Yeah, no, I have some time as well. And just one thing to touch on, this will be recorded. So if you do want to go back, re-listen to Jack's conversation about comping, we could definitely let that take place.
yeah. And I could also go more in depth on that. I just covered that super, super briefly. I mean, I'm gonna say super briefly, but quickly. Yeah. When is
I
the
would
next?
love, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No worries.
I would love to hang on if you want and to look at that property real quick. I don't know if now is a good time, but I have all, I mean, I have, I don't know when to do that, but.
Totally. Yeah, we could do that now, of course. And then to answer one of the questions in the chat, let me see here. When is the next Zoom meeting? As of now, we're doing them Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific time, right, Alex?
Yep.
And then Saturdays, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Then as this grows, I don't know, we might throw another day in the mix. I'm not sure if we're going to do that, though, if we're going to be in the general chat every single day for an hour. I mean, we'll discuss that and I guess figure that out. But as of now, that's what it's looking like. Oh, yep. And then the J, I thought you posted that to everyone. It was a DM to me. So I was like, okay, no one else saw that. So yeah, also signing the JV agreement. So that's another thing, just to protect you and to protect us. We have that JV agreement for all our callers, everyone working together. It's basically just guaranteeing that, you know, you're going to get paid your finder's fee if we close on that deal. And then also basically just stating, hey, with our leads from our lists, you're not sharing them or sending them to other people or things like that. And then if you do become inactive in the group and stop participating and whatnot, we can terminate the agreement and remove you from the group, basically. So, because that's, as I've said before, I know there's some newer people in here, but we're trying to make this a group where everyone's active and trying to build and grow together, not just, oh, cool, this sounds fun, click, join, and then never hear from them again. So we'd offboard people like that. We're just trying to have everyone working together as on their goals and having a good environment. So yeah, we probably will be offboarding. Of course, not anyone who's in this Zoom, because that shows you're active and wanting to do this, but we're probably going to be offboarding a decent amount of people here next week or so.
Yeah, and to kind of add on to that, the whole purpose of this group is to help you really get on the ground running. We want to help you get your first deal. Ideally, it would be nice to get someone their first deal about 5 to 10 times a month. So that's kind of our goal and where we kind of want to be at. And we just want to be resources to all of you so we could really help you get to your goals.
Yeah, well said, Alex. And that's the thing too, like, because us helping you also helps us because we're buying these deals. And then also too, like I've told people in that video, we could talk about other terms after you guys have done a couple deals with us. Because once you've done a couple deals, you're probably at the point of, wow, I've learned this stuff myself. I can do this myself, things like that. And I, of course, know that's going to happen. That's what happened to me when I was doing this stuff. And then at that point, it's like, well, hey, I'm looking at this from a long-term relationship factor of like, okay, if Pierce does a decent amount of deals and he starts doing his own thing a few months from now, then we could potentially be a buyer for Pierce. Or Maria does a decent amount of deals. Oh, well, she's still, sending us deals to look at, potentially partner on, or Gatorland. Like there's a whole bunch of different ways to go about it. And there's so many people doing this that I don't even really care about us creating competition. I look at it more like collaboration of all of us, like building and growing together. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you guys for putting this together. I think this is awesome.
Of course. Of course. And yeah, anything else? Because we won't just chill in silence then. I know Maria has that deal she wants us to look at. But before we get to that, if anyone else has any questions, comments, anything like that, I see Noah, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, just a really quick one. Oh, might have lost it, but hold on, give me a second here.
No worries.
That tends to happen to me sometimes. As far as, let's just say we're processing a deal, we're going through and stuff. Is there, for me, I'm a hands-on person. I want to know those top to bottom. Maybe because I'm more, experienced in this field as far as just working with buyers and sellers every day. But I think I want to get to a point where obviously when you're doing a deal, let's say I get you one, I submit it, everything goes through. I also want to be able to understand how you're underwriting it, what you're looking at, how you're putting it together, what's a good deal, what's a bad deal.
Yeah.
I think those are important things too. I don't know if that's things you're willing to share and you're willing to do.
100%.
But I would personally, I want to know step A through Z. Obviously, I don't want to make it more complicated ways, because I'm sure you got 1,000 other people. You got these, 18 other people in here now. If you're doing that every day, I know you can't get through everything. I watch a broker who deals with that, but
yeah,
it would be cool though to be able to process it, go through it, and understand A to Z how you're putting it together behind the scenes. You can see.
Totally happy to do that. And I've told other people before too, and I've told Alex this as well. Like ideally, it'd be cool if we get on 3-way calls, but sometimes with me, it's like, okay, let me call this guy right now. I'll open up another tab. I'll record the call. You can hear the whole process. Or if you don't want to join me at like midnight underwriting a deal or looking at it, I can record a Loom video of exactly what my thoughts are, how I'm going about it, and then writing up the offer and sending it out. So, and then of course too, we can set time to make a schedule a call and kind of go over everything and then dive more into depths with exit strategies and things like that and whatnot too. And then one thing I've talked to Alex about too, which is, I don't know how we're going to incorporate this. Maybe it's something, because we want to create some sort of incentivization structure as well too within this, but leveraging private capital and doing a bunch of stuff like that. So like that was one thing I mentioned, like once you do like 3 deals, there's other opportunities. And that's one thing where it's like, hey, maybe you can tap into the network of potential partnerships with us on deals or private money and going more in depth. But the whole process from A to Z, still very, very happy to kind of show that and answer any specific questions and kind of show how I'm looking at it in terms of my exit strategy, where we're getting it and things like that. Cause I have a pretty cool like generator that where I'm underwriting the deal, it shows my entry, what the cash on cash return looks like on the exit. And then it also creates like the LOI as well that I then send off to the agent. So kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone there for the underwriting. So I'd be happy to show you that. I actually could have showed you that on that one. I didn't record it though, because we didn't decide to send anything out, but that one you sent yesterday, that high end home, like when I put that in the calculator, it's just like, oh man, just because the prices were so high on there. But and that one's kind of a bummer, man, because it sounds like the seller's in a really tough spot. And I think that person that gave them the offer isn't going to perform. I don't think they're going to be able to wholesale that deal. The only way I see of maybe that being a deal would be zero, like maybe just paying the agent a very small flat fee where it's like a $10,000 entry fee total to someone. And then you go and find a wrap buyer who's going to live in it at a slightly higher interest rate than the interest rate it's at currently. So it varies a lot deal by deal basis. Then another person in here, I don't think he's in the call, John, he sent us one in Alabama, same sort of scenario, very higher end. It was actually low interest rate, but then the agent shot it down. But yeah, we could definitely start doing that with deals we've closed on and deals we're working on, recording our like analysis and thought process with it and posting those. And then also, of course, too, like analyzing deals together and hopping on calls and whatnot as well. Awesome.
And then just one thing I want to touch on, we're all here to really learn more about real estate. And so I just want to remind everyone that you don't just have to reach out to Jack and myself. You should all be networking with each other and really learning what's working from each other. And just, yeah, establish more relationships. As you know, real estate is a relationship built business. So the more people you know doing deals, the more deals you'll do. And so it's just a matter of really getting to meet everyone in here.
Yeah, no, I like that. Well said, Alex. And I'd say that's very important too, because I'm trying, and that's the difference, right? We want it to be an active chat, but I don't want to like force it into like a cringy chat of like, hey, post selfies of yourself calling just to hold everyone accountable. Because I've been in groups like that before where I'm just like, oh man. But yeah, being active, talking to one another in the chat is going to be huge and helpful, because that's also like a sense of accountability too. Like, right, hey, I want to do all this stuff. I see my good friend doing it, or my partner who's in the same group and he's being active. I'm seeing the work he's putting in. Okay, that's holding me kind of accountable and motivating me to do it as well. Just like having like a gym partner or something. It's a lot easier to go to the gym when you have a partner doing it. Same with this stuff, same with so many things. So having that community of active people, that's why we're looking for active people who are going to be consistently want to be involved with it, to then kind of build this community where everyone's doing the same thing and is involved.